In the last section, we spoke about how we're going to solve some issues with the production version of our container by using a multi-step build process. By using a multi-step process, we can use different base images. We can have some amount of configuration or code that gets executed to build up our application and then copy over the results of that to our actual real phase. So let's start putting together our Docker file to put this into action. I'm going to begin by opening up my code editor. And then inside of my root project directory, I'm going to make a new file called Docker file. So inside of here, we're going to have two distinctly different sections. We're going to first write out the section that's going to install all of our dependencies and run the npm run build command. Now the configuration that we're going to use for the first block, or kind of this build phase, is a lot of configuration that we've already looked at several times. So we'll go through it rather quickly. We'll first say from node alpine, and then I'm going to tag this phase with a name. I can tag this by saying as, and then providing the name of this phase or this stage. So I'll call this thing builder. Oops, not that. I'll call it builder like so. By putting on as builder, that means that from this from command and everything underneath it is all going to be referred to as the builder phase. And the sole purpose of this phase is to install dependencies and build our application. Then after that, we're going to see all of the usual configuration that we've been making use of so far throughout this course. So I'll specify my work directory of app. I'll copy over my package.json file to that app directory. I'll run npm install. I'll copy over all of my source code. So notice now that we are doing this build phase and we kind of don't have any concern over changing our source code, we don't have to make use of that entire volume system anymore. That volume system that we were implementing with Docker Compose was only required because we wanted to develop our application and have our changes immediately show up inside the container. When we're running our code in a production environment, that's not a concern anymore because we're not changing our code at all. So we can just do a straight copy of all of our source code directly into the container. After we copy all of our source code over, we'll then execute with the run command, npm run build. All right, and that is it. That's all we have to do for our builder step. So again, this is going to install dependencies, run npm run build, and the output of it is going to be that build folder. Now, one thing I want to point out here is that the build folder will be created in the working directory. So the folder that you and I really care about, like the folder with all of our production assets that we want to serve up to the outside world, the path to that inside the container will be /app/build. That's going to have all the stuff we care about. So that's going to be the folder that we're going to eventually want to somehow copy over during our run phase. Okay, so now that we've got our build phase put together, we're going to write out the configuration for the actual run phase. So this is going to be the phase that says we're going to use the Nginx image, where we're going to copy over the result of the npm run build and then somehow start up Nginx. So to specify the start of a second phase, all we have to do is say from and then the name of our base image, which is Nginx, like so. You'll notice that we did not have to put any terminology or any syntax in here to specify or say that the initial phase that we have right here was stopping. By just putting in a second from statement that essentially says, okay, previous block, all complete, don't worry about it. Any single block or any single phase here can only have a single from statement. So you can kind of imagine that the from statements we put in here are kind of terminating each successive block. So then inside of here, we're going to write out the command to copy over that build folder into this new kind of like Nginx container thing that we're putting together. So I'm going to say copy. And I'm going to say that we want to copy something from a different phase. So I'll put in -- from equals builder, like so. So this is saying I want to copy over something from that other phase that we just were working on. In this case, we want to copy something over from the builder phase. We'll then specify the folder that we want to copy. So I'm going to say app/build, because again, that's the folder that you and I really care about. And then we'll specify where we want to copy the thing to inside of this kind of Nginx container that we're putting together. So the folder that we want to copy this stuff to, and this is kind of a little bit of configuration around Nginx specifically. If you go back over here to the Nginx documentation on Docker Hub, and you look at that section that says hosting some simple content, it's kind of hard to see inside of here, but you'll essentially see, oh, here's a perfect example of it right here. So if we want to serve up some static HTML content, we just stuff it into this folder of user share nginx HTML. So anything inside there is going to be automatically served up by nginx when it starts up. Okay, so we're going to say user. Notice how there's no E in there, it's just USR. Share nginx HTML, like so. And I'm going to collapse my sidebar just so you can see all of that. Okay. And believe it or not, that's pretty much it. As far as actually, I'd said over here, oh yeah, start nginx. Well, it turns out that the default command of the nginx container or the nginx image is going to start up nginx for us. So we don't have to actually specifically run anything to start up nginx. When we start up the nginx container, it's just going to take care of the command for us automatically. So that's pretty much it. That is our Docker file for the the production environment. Again, the really important thing to understand here is that we've got this multi-step process where we're creating one temporary container right here, or one set of layers right here. We execute some number of commands inside that set of layers, and then out of that set of layers, we're just copying over just the bare minimum, just the stuff we care about. So when we do this copy step right here, we're essentially dumping everything else that was created while this set of configuration was executed. So we're not pulling over anything from the Node Alpine image. We're not pulling over any of the result of the npm install. We're not copying over any of our source code. All we are getting is the result of that app/build directory. That's it. So our end image is going to be relatively small. It's going to be essentially however large the nginx base image is, and that's pretty much it. All right, so that's it. Now let's take a quick pause right here. I'm going to make sure I save this file, and then we're going to test this out in the next section. So quick break, and I'll see you in just a minute.